Here are 5 guaranteed ways to build self-love fast. Hi, I'm Dr. Lilli, a licensed naturopathic doctor and relationship coach. Today I'm giving you 5 powerful ways to build real self-esteem and real self-love, especially if you grew up in an environment where self-love and romantic love weren't modeled for you. In this video, I'll walk you through why love isn't just a feeling but an action you have to create, how to speak to yourself so you start believing in yourself, and how to truly become your own biggest cheerleader in every moment. Self-love shifts everything in your life, and this video will give you the exact guide to get there. For more healthy relationship advice, make sure to subscribe below. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know is this. Self-love doesn't just happen. Just like any love is something that you have to create, especially when it comes to self-love. We talk about romantic love like it's just this magical feeling that we get to experience. But you and I both know love is also, and maybe even more so, an action. If you believe that in a relationship, love is shown through what somebody does and how somebody treats you, then it must also translate to self-love. Think about it. If somebody bought you gifts but talked down to you, would you trust that they actually loved you? No, because the actions wouldn't match their words. So ask yourself this. How can you learn to love yourself if you claim that taking a bubble bath is self-love and self-care, but then, right after a breakup, you tell yourself that no one will ever love you? Or you stay with someone who thinks that texting once a day is effort, when you know deep down it's just breadcrumbs. And here's the real question that most people avoid. If your actions towards yourself don't line up with real love, what do you think it teaches your brain? We're going to come back to this in a minute because it ties into something deeper that most people don't realize. But first you need to understand who inside of you is actually reacting when you feel unworthy. So the second thing that you need to know is this. The child within you, whether they're 4, 8, or 12 years old, they still exist within. And a lot of times they're actually the one that's running the show. And I can prove it to you with one of the healing techniques that I use. But we'll get to that in just a moment. So you know those moments when you start to panic because they haven't texted you back fast enough, or maybe not at all? That rush of fear that you're experiencing isn't coming from the adult version of you. That's actually the child inside who once felt like they weren't important, or that love could disappear at any moment. And when you felt that way as a kid, you learned to survive by taking care of everybody else. That younger version of you tried to keep other people close so that they could feel safe. But the price that she paid was abandoning herself, ignoring her own feelings and needs in order to try to keep other people happy. She had to tiptoe around so that she wouldn't spark conflict, keeping everything neat and tidy exactly as her parents needed. She grew up in a chaotic environment, constantly feeling unsure about what was around the next corner, always having this fear of what could come next. So she learned to try to control herself, the environment, and emotions of those around her so that she could finally get some semblance of feeling safe. But that came at the expense of authenticity. And now, without even noticing, you're repeating the same pattern in your relationships today. One of the tools I use with my clinical patients is called NET, or neuro-emotional technique. It helps us see that old emotional experiences don't just disappear. They stay inside the body and not only get re-triggered in the moment, but drive you to replay those experiences in your real life now over and over again. We know that the original experience and emotion stays in the body because with NET and the muscle testing used, we can trace the emotion back to the very first time that you experienced it, aka that younger version of you. And most of the time, it goes back to some experience or event that you had at 10 years or younger. So the next time that you feel anxious or you're spiraling, here's what I want you to do in order to help rebuild your self-love. Talk to that younger version of yourself. Imagine them. How old are they? What emotion is coming up in this moment for them? What are they afraid of? Then give them what they needed, whether that was a hug, some reassuring words, or just knowing and feeling like somebody else is there for them. And also give that to the current version of you right now. Instead of ridiculing your younger self or feeling upset that you even have to deal with this, seek to have compassion for that part of you instead. That is how you heal and show yourself the love that you really need. What most people don't realize is that sure, your skin is exfoliated and your hair smells good, but you're still speaking down to yourself. And that younger version of you never gets the love that they have always been begging for. The love that finally makes them feel whole. See, while your actions might look like self-care, your words are what are teaching your brain what you really believe. And if that part of you never gets nurtured, then your self-love will never truly grow. Now, I want you to look at your past and everything that's happened to you and is going to happen to you in a completely different way. Most people will look back and think, oh, I messed up, I failed, I should have known better. But here's the truth. Your past isn't just a list of failures. Your past is a roadmap, and it is revealing the path to your soulmate through your own healing and growth journey. So instead of viewing failed relationships as past failures and asking yourself, why did I do that? Start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because every lesson helps you know yourself better and love yourself even deeper if you choose to do so. If you decide that there's a lesson to be learned and not a punishment to be had. I was once very emotionally invested with a man who was very inconsistent with his contact with me, who actually left the country for months without even telling me his decision prior. First telling me it would only be 2 weeks, and then it turned into months. And once it had turned to, I don't know when I'll be back, I finally realized he just didn't care enough about me. And while it hurt and I cried from the realization because I did care about him, I was also able to smile and laugh and still have hope for the future, all at the same time, because I didn't view it as a failure or see myself as not enough. Yes, I had some regret about investing so much into that connection, because ultimately looking back, he was never really invested, but I also knew it wasn't the end. It was a lesson, and I had absolute faith that better would come. I was able to take the good from that experience because there were good parts, and also take the lessons. This was the result of the healing and love I had already been creating in myself. But it was also part of the continued development of showing up for and loving myself through every moment. So often we have an experience getting ghosted, staying too long, or accepting breadcrumbs, and we make it a statement about our worth. We think it means we weren't enough, because if we were, then they would have treated us better or changed to be the partner that we believed them to be. But the truth, it was an experience. It was actions that failed, like accepting breadcrumbs, not you. You have responsibility for your actions, but you are not your actions. It's not feedback about you or who you are, but rather it's feedback about the wounds that you still carry. And it's showing you the exact belief that still needs healing, the belief which drove those actions. And you can't shame yourself into that healing. You can't yell at yourself, judge yourself, or bully yourself into changing. That just continues to repeat the old story and separates you from the very part that needs integrating. So instead of being mad at yourself for accepting poor treatment, ask yourself this: what made me believe that I have to earn love in the first place? What made me feel like I needed to prove my worth to somebody who never saw it? Because once you see the story underneath the pain, you finally understand why you made the choices that you did. And when you understand the why, you can stop repeating the pattern. These are the questions that have my clients making breakthroughs and letting go of what doesn't serve them to align with the one thing that really does. So the next part of building self-love is this. You have to do things that scare you. This doesn't have to be huge and dramatic like skydiving. I mean the everyday things that you keep avoiding. So go talk to new people, try something new, go somewhere alone, speak up when you would normally stay quiet, set a boundary, say no. You can't build self-love if you're always hiding from discomfort. And self-love is uncomfortable when you've been deprived of it for so long. So when you do things that scare you, you're teaching your brain, look, I can do hard things and still be okay. And every time you do that, you build a new muscle, a new connection in your brain. The muscle of stepping into something uncomfortable instead of running from it. And when you repeat this over and over, you start admiring who you are and you stop seeing yourself as somebody who needs saving and instead start seeing yourself as somebody who is strong, brave, and capable. And then one day you finally realize, oh, hey, I am powerful. And suddenly you feel invincible. Not because everything went perfectly, but because you tried. You showed up even through that discomfort. And when you put the focus on action, not the outcome, you build your self-esteem. It's no longer personal and it no longer means something about your worth. If the conversation was awkward or they don't respond the way that you wanted, or the event wasn't what you had hoped for, it doesn't matter because the win is that you did it. And the last piece is what really brings it all home. You need to reflect on your accomplishments and make time to celebrate yourself. You can't just take action without recognition. You need to have self-recognition too. And don't tell me you don't have accomplishments. Accomplishments aren't only awards, money, or promotions. Some of your greatest accomplishments are the quiet ones, like the days that you kept going even when you felt broken, the nights you chose hope when everything felt heavy, and the moments you believed in yourself when it felt impossible and nobody else was there. Those not only count, but are often even greater than what society deems worthy of celebrating. Those are the things that truly show your strength. And you build self-love when you learn how to speak life into yourself. When you choose to encourage yourself instead of tear yourself down. When you decide to be your own best friend instead of your worst critic. And oftentimes you don't start with the feeling of love. You might not feel confident or powerful at all. Oftentimes you have to take the action first before the feelings show up. Because the actions of speaking kind words, encouraging yourself, holding boundaries, and celebrating those small wins, those are what are really creating that feeling of self-worth. When you change the way that you speak to yourself, you change the way that you feel. You change your beliefs about yourself, and you start aligning more with what it is you desire, rather than what you don't. This is how you get everything that you desire. Live in the end and the path will reveal itself. You can't just wait to feel ready before you believe in yourself, before you start loving yourself. You become ready because you start loving yourself. Your standards, your confidence, and the way that you carry yourself elevate. And this is how you attract the kind of love that actually matches who you are becoming. This whole journey is the roadmap to your soulmate and yourself. Because the relationship that you have with yourself becomes the blueprint for every relationship that you choose. If you don't build self-love intentionally, you'll subconsciously choose people who reflect your wounds instead of your worth. So to understand the cycle of why you self-sabotage your own happiness, watch this video next.